Welcome to part 13 of Final Fantasy 13.
I remember correctly, we did these actual jokes in the original run.
And trust me, and trust me, Dwebs. And trust me, Dwebs, I'm going off of what the game does because this trilogy loves to reference the name 13 ad nauseum in everything. Everything in this game is 13. Everything.
So, like I've mentioned before, this was actually one of my introductions to Final Fantasy. This along with Final Fantasy VII. So, back before I really knew how Final Fantasy works, part of me wondered, wait, is this what every Final Fantasy game does? Like, you know, pay constant homages to its particular number or something?
No, it's just...
Seven has a bar called 7 Heavens.
No, this is Toriyama's idea of wit, apparently.
Well, remember, 7 had a bar called 7.
Yeah, but that was like one thing. This game has... Lightning Returns has 13 clocks. This game has 13 chapters, as well as 13 analects in the data log. The Final Fantasy... Okay, what things are 13 in 13.2 too?
I can answer you in a second because the wiki actually does have an article when it comes to cataloging, you know, an arc number. So give me just a second.
No. Sure.
Oh, cutscene time.
This area is covered by the Woodlands Observation Battalion.
Whatever that means.
You scared?
Not really. I'm ready to fight if I have to.
To keep you safe.
Yeah, a knife's gonna keep him safer than anything else, Lightning.
Like
his knife! His knife! Our shotguns are useless against it!
Lightning.
Okay. Not only that,
Also,
but... Okay, let's consider this. Hope must have been fighting for quite some time at this point, so it's weird that only now Lightning gives him the knife to be protecting himself.
not to mention he never actually uses it in actual gameplay.
Time to move.
No.
Basically. This is more symbolic, and he still occupies a slot in actually important inventory.
The key items, yes.
Section.
So, yeah, honestly, the whole Lightning giving Hope the knifing is, I guess, just a way to show them bonding. But again, if she wanted to give him the knife to defend himself, she should have given that way earlier, because again, okay, even if supposedly canon-wise he hasn't been fighting much, I don't buy that he hasn't been fighting at all throughout this whole thing, because otherwise he would have been toast at this point. So again, Lightning, why only now are you giving the boy a knife that is probably more useless than his boomerang? His ridiculous boomerang.
There you go, Java. You were asking what it was? Here we go. This unit is part of the Guardian Corps, but unlike the Bottom Security Regiment, aka Lightning's unit, the Woodlands Observation Battalion patrols non-residential areas. Its main duty is to prevent wild creatures from encroaching on suburban districts. The battalion also provides the bulk of security personnel for the Gapra Whitewood bioweapon research facility, despite the facility's status as a SCWRM-run initiative. So basically, they guard any places that don't involve civilians, basically.
Alright, let me see. Okay, there you go.
Yeah,
Pedro.
like I
Sorry,
mentioned, it is just silly that she gives him the knife at this point, when again, that knife is more useless than his boomerang.
So like I've been saying all the various times, the pacing is all out of whack.
And again, Lightning, you don't really get off calling Snow stupid when you do stupid.
And I just got remember the knife a bit. Okay,
You don't need to rush.
saying this out of context doesn't really spoil much, Dweebs, but you know what's something funny? You wanna know when the knife actually gets to become being used very importantly by either Lightning or Hope?
The end.
You're close in that regard, but it's worse than you think. It's literally used in the cutscene to deal one of the very major finishing blows to the final boss of Lightning Returns. Not even kidding.
Yep.
I just remember that.
Oh god,
But
that's right.
Well, I mean, I was kind of right with the end.
I'm normally flabbergasted by the stupid power law speech drama, so pardon me for forgetting that detail.
Oh, no, chill, I don't blame you. Like, even I forgot about that. Like, okay, let me put it like this. There's a lot to remember about Lightning Returns' stupidity. So, it's easy to forget about some of the smaller details of stupidity that are still pretty stupid, but don't hold a candle to how dumb everything else is in that game.
Again, I have to ask, where do you put that thing? In your ass? The boomerang, I mean. Like, seriously, he
I
put...
think manages to actually showcase, a strap on her model, because here is a military uniform, so it means logical. But Hope doesn't have anything like that. Hell, even Saz has actually, gun holsters on his, on his pants, But
And Vanille at least has something of a strap for her.
Yeah, she does.
Hope just doesn't have anything. But
Oh wait,
there we
remind
go.
me. Didn't Hope also just pick up his boomerang around the same area that Vanille got her
it was an
weapon?
improvised weapon. So of course his normal outfit would not have, but it would have been perfectly reasonable if he found also a holster and he put it on his outfit as well.
I know, right? In fact, he does have some clips, and he literally has a strap
couple of
that he could
pouches,
tie around.
That is the thing. That is the thing, Jova. When you see his victory animation, he puts it like his hand goes straight into the area of his ass. So it's not like he's putting it on.
And let me tell you this. I know that the Crystal Tool engine gave developers problem, but this was not a situation like, say, the early Kingdom Hearts or the DCI games on the PSP, where because of a more limited hardware, you had the excuse of character materializes.
Oh boy, here we go.
On and off.
All right, here it is, the cutscene that Jova was waiting for.
We need to
Are you sure this is the one? Because
No, Jova was waiting the flashback one, I think.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm waiting for the flashback one, but this one is still also interesting too.
The botanic course that Lanning mentioned before.
Okay, I thought it was the flashback hero one.
Wait, here we go.
Oh yeah, it's
Psychon's
after
keeping
this.
it all in your
Okay.
wraps. They don't want their failure publicized.
Of
Better
course.
to lose us than lose their pride.
So the other soldiers don't know about us, right?
Right. They don't know anything about any fugitives.
Alright, true story, bro.
Right here.
Let me tell you instead, to answer Pedro's question. Alright, for the first game, The Illusions of the Number 13. The game expansion contains 13 chapters. The flashbacks happen around 13 days. There are 13 party members when Eidolons are included. Okay, that's a bit of a cop-out, but sure. There are 13 retail network shops available. The data log is 13 sub-menus. There are 13 Analects, which is part of the data log, mind you. There are 13 groups in the enemy militarized unit section of the bestiary. There are 13 enemies registered under the FLC section. The threshold score for a 5-star battle rating is 13,000 points.
Oh my god.
Stated in the games, but revealed in the Ultimania Guide. The sea brands progress through 13 stages. This is something that I will elaborate actually later. May become more important. The days are 26 hours long, with clock faces having 13 numbers. In a section we will see later on, there are 13 numbers on one such clock. Another one is later confirming any returns that 2 hours were lost from the day during the day of Ragnarok. Again, something will explain later as well. And in the one of the novels, that is of his exclusive novels, it's revealed that the temple containing anima was tended by 13 priests. The rest is something that is tied to slightly spoiler events for later. As for 13.2, okay. In all three of the game's fully rendered cinematics, there are 13 tolls of a bell. In the opening cinematics, there's a mid-story cinematic. There are 13 tolls of when an even rates. In the closing cinematic, there are 13 tolls of a bell before the credit rolls. In one dungeon, there is an arc floating in the sky called the 13 Arc. Yes. In one of the Paradox endings, Snow mentioned that he must visit 13 different eras to resolve paradoxes by collecting 13 crystals. The DLC, one of the DLCs have the characters that you can obtain from those have a maximum level capacity of 13. The mechanics of a lightning special attack Legion of 1 are identical to those of the original Dizzy in the one of his game, but with a visual strike as the finisher, which brings the overall hit count up to 13.
You see,
you get the idea. There are countless on that kind of sense. But to be fair, I don't really mind this kind of thing. It's at worst, it's just attention to detail, but it's harmless. Sure, it can get hammered in. Like again, we were mentioning in another case, XIII, and that one has hammered in messages of motherhood. But for this case, with the number 13, it's not something that it's part in the story. Sorry. Bonk.
And hope had a stomachache.
Wonder how the others are doing.
Saz and Vanille? Who knows?
Who cares?
Even if they got
Yeah.
away,
I don't.
they'll get caught eventually.
Wow, you're just a shining
They'll have to
picture of
choose.
positivity, aren't you,
Resist.
Lightning? Yeah, they'll probably be dead.
I mean, what options are there, to be honest?
Surrender.
Well, maybe consider that they got away and are formulating a
think he's
plan
still
of their
alive?
own. Never mind the fact that that's what Lightning's
but the
doing.
pronoun game.
Jova, the real heroes don't need plans, remember?
He's too stubborn to die. And that's his best quality. He's able
You
to
know,
show me from
that
the
only
get-go.
works if you're
Thinks he's
describing
everybody's pal.
Batman,
Never
honey.
liked him much. He leads around a bunch of kids. Gang called Nora.
Also, Lightning.
I want to talk about this, actually.
Yeah,
It's a
this is
stupid
important.
acronym. Their little code stands for no obligations, rules, or authority. Must be nice.
Or the localizations, maybe.
Yeah.
It's your
By the way, conveniently, Nora also happens to be the name of Hope's mom.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
That's because.
Just-
Well, okay. That's okay. Allow me. Okay. So, as you can probably guess, because of the fact of how that is spelled, yeah, in the localization it was different. In the localization, sorry, in the original Japanese, it's also the same thing, where the name of Hope's mom is the same thing as the acronym for Snow's group. Problem is, it didn't. It just stood for a basic, typical resistance group type of acronym. It didn't really mean much of anything interesting, But for whatever but for Nora, they decided to instead have the Snow's group be called No Obligations, Rules, or Authority, which basically makes them come across as kids who are just trying to assert about how rebel and anti-authority we are and blah blah blah. But that's not at all what the original version is. Now I can understand that the localizers were kind of in a tough pickle here. They had to translate something that was literally untranslatable, so they had to completely come up with a new acronym. Translating into the letter was not an option. So that being said, couldn't you come up with something better than this?
Okay, remind me just for the details, because I kind of slipped a bit and I forgot. The original meaning for the Japanese version was because of the name Noraneko, right?
Yes, it was one of those.
Why don't you just make a fictional species? Well, actually, that like why don't you just say in the dialogue, but it's a fictional species of cocoon, but it's actually called like that.
The idea is to try and still tie it to an acronym, which was apparently something that
while probably unintentional, Joe, I would like to remind you that the Pershing 2 actually does introduce an animal that's kind of similar to that.
See, the thing is, Teo.
Yes. However, Teo, the point was tying it to an acronym, and the last thing they wanted was a longer name that would somehow make it tougher to tie to. Again, that is sort of the issue with the translation in that regard.
There's also the fact that in order to do that, we would have to have an extra localized version exclusive entry in the data log that is not in the Japanese version to explain it. I'm not entirely sure if that was an option for them.
Not only that, but apparently, according to what Pedro was mentioned, apparently the point was also to have it be that the name of the group would be the same name as Hope's mother, so...
Yeah, because that's kind of the whole point, because every time they keep saying Nora, the whole point is so that Hope will get reminded of the mom. Then
Why did you say that name?
Again, you gotta love the irony. Oh, so it just so happens that the group that Hope blames for his mother's death also happens to have his mother's name, so that he will constantly be reminded of her name, and that will fuel his desire to kill
angstiness.
Snow. That's not contrived at all now, is it?
Angstiness rising.
Hey, Dwibs.
Yeah?
You know that guy who accidentally stepped on your foot? Well, suddenly this organization's name is named after that guy, so it will remind you forever until you get your revenge!
So I'm gonna name that organization Ellery then.
By the way, this monster is called...
I'm pretty sure at some point Shuri stood on my spot, so therefore, that's the name of the organization.
By the way, this monster we just fought is called Silver Lobo. Lobo stands for wolf.
Yeah.
What would it stand for in that case?
But yeah, I mean, seriously though, Yeah, I love how petty Lightning sounds when she's describing Snow. Like, oh, he's so stupid. Him and a stupid gang. Again, Lightning, him and his quote-unquote stupid gang did more to help people than you did.
The idea...
Yeah, you did.
The idea is that, she's incredibly dickish about it, and she's supposed to warm up and, apologize to him later on. Again, I can tell where they're going, but the problem is that the execution is all kinds of crap.
Now, okay, we did get a data log entry that did mention that Lightning has never had a good impression of Snow and wanted him to stop stinging her sister, and him daring to refuse her orders just continued to fuel her bad impression of him, and I'm like, so wait. So you only would have had a good impression of him if he listened to you about stopping seeing your sister. Doesn't that kind of defeat the purpose of him wanting to date and get to know you and your sister then? I'm beginning to wonder who's the real idiot here, Lightning. And don't worry, it gets worse.
That's the thing, it's not much of a matter of idiocy, but more like selfishness. Connected to what you said before, comparing her to Nora, they really cannot be put on the same level because Lightning's intention was not to rescue civilians to begin with. She really just wanted to get to the facility and save her sister.
Which is why
sure,
I really
call
don't
her
get why.
selfish if you want, but not necessarily an idiot.
I don't know. It's like me and Pedro mentioned though. She says and does stupid things that the game doesn't acknowledge are stupid because that would be convenient to.
Well, all the characters
on the same level as Snow.
Well, all the characters in this game do that. They're all of them.
I'll just say this: she's selfish and stupid. Sure, probably more bordering on the selfish angle, but she still does do some dumb stuff.
Around this point, your Crystarium allows you to develop one ability for the commando launcher. When an enemy is actually staggered, you can actually launch them in the air and literally interrupting their combo, meaning that essentially you got more free pickings when it comes to actually dealing extra damage to them.
And if you play your cards right, it's possible to continue juggling the enemy forever until you lose.
Mind you, the bosses are basically immune to this, so it's mostly just when you actually...
Well, not all of them, Teo. The boss of this level isn't.
Oh, right. I get the idea why they did it, probably because of tutorials on this.
Okay. So, I get that we're in gameplay-wise, but am I the one who finds it weird that suddenly Hope can do all that acrobatic stuff that he clearly was struggling doing in cutscenes?
Yeah, that's actually a good point as well. Another case of gameplay store segregation, like the one with Saz that Teo will point out later. But it is true that Hope. It doesn't really make much sense for Hope to already be able to do this.
Again, it just makes the characters seem indistinguishable in a field, which is not a good sign when you want to, have... Well, okay, look. The cast is already pretty small by
Alright, I think it's...
standards as it is.
No, isn't it? No, it's not yet. Damn. I forgot how late it was in this part. It's right at the end of it.
I think it's almost right at the end of the dungeon.
I'll say this.
Alright, let's take a break.
Let's gather around the campfires.
Hope, don't play around with that thing. That thing's dangerous,
Hey, Teo, that's at least more memorable than a lot of the music in this soundtrack.
I beg to differ, as someone who never particularly cared about SpongeBob. But also,
that sounds like a you problem.
It's something like words of Caius Julius Caesar, Brutus, stop playing with a knife, you'll end up hurting someone with it.
What happened with him?
Honestly, it doesn't even really look like that well.
So Hope is now about to explain what exactly is his problem.
You don't understand me.
You and I are partners, Hope.
My mother was killed.
My mom is dead!
Basically.
Guys, this is supposed to be emotional. Stop it.
Because of Snow, yeah. Now let's get a flashback to remind us that it's not Snow's fault.
It's his fault.
No, it's not.
But it is, though.
It isn't, is. It isn't, is.
He needs to pay for it.
No, he doesn't! Look,
he's gonna address that, actually. Hold on.
That's why I followed you.
Damn, this kid's crazy.
Hold on.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I gave him a knife.
Oh, it's not yet? Okay.
That should be Lightning's takeaway from this.
You and me, your sister Sarah. He's gotta pay.
See, okay, now, okay.
In the moment where Lightning realizes, yeah, maybe we should take this kid and give him a good sit
Okay,
down
and now it's my
explain why
turn.
That's not the right thing.
And now it's my turn to back up what Jova was saying. Okay, see, as the mature adult in this situation, Lightning, this is the part where Lightning realizes, okay, this is starting to get out of hand. I'm literally feeding this kid's murderous rage. I should probably do something, talk to him, make him realize that this is not the answer. But I'm just gonna stay here, not say anything, and just let that anger just foster and grow further, because that's definitely gonna turn out well.
Oh, guess what? It gets even worse when she actually does try to do something by the end of this dungeon.
Let me guess.
Well, not so much in this dungeon, more so in the next one, Jova.
No. Remember when she has that talk with Hope? I believe after. I think that's after the flashback.
You don't know yet, Jova. That's one.
No. I'm not talking about that cutscene. I'm talking about when she, the Operation Nora cutscene.
Oh. Yeah, I think that one should be at the end of this.
Yeah, but that's the thing. She doesn't necessarily try to dissuade him from it, though. But we'll see.
No. That's my point about how she just makes things worse, but we'll get to that.
It's one of those things where Lightning supposedly is the mature adult in this situation, and yet she just doesn't seem to understand that this is clearly a problem right now, and she just allows this to she just allows him to continue fueling his teenage angst even further.
I know what some viewers may think. Well, maybe Lightning hates Snow enough that she'd rather he be killed.
Alright, I think it's
the
no.
game makes it clear that is not the case.
Yes, it is. Okay. Alright, behold everybody. This is gonna be interesting.
Oh boy. Woo! Digital cutting.
Could I
You could tap
use
that.
one of those?
No. I gave you a knife, Hope.
It's a gunblade, the protagonist only, mate.
Yeah.
And give him a knife pistol or something.
Not to
Again, does that knife really look like it could do
not to
much
mention,
damage?
well, not to mention, Hope is better as a mage anyway. All right, here we go. All right, so back in the 13 days,
boy.
where Sarah told Lightning that she's a lessee, basically, as well as presenting.
Here we go.
Check this out.
Let's see
You
Lightning's
became a
reaction.
lessee, so now you're gonna marry this idiot? And you think I'm gonna buy that? Full points for originality. But don't forget,
Whoa.
Hold on.
you really are a lessee. It's my job to deal with you.
I do grounder.
Wait for
This
it.
is ridiculous. Worst birthday ever.
I'm going to deal with this cutscene after it's been played out in its entirety. It ain't over yet.
Yeah, and here we go. This is the scene. This is one of the many scenes that Jova keeps talking about, where Snow's clearly the only one speaking reason here.
You stop it! Get out of my house.
You're shutting her out.
Dare
She's
you
your
tell me the
sister.
truth? Doesn't even have a response to that.
Fine.
Oh god, I would have loved to have seen Ali Hillis's double take when she read that bit.
So, just a reminder, Lightning claims it was Snow's fault that this has all happened. And this cutscene shows that...
Actually, it's gonna showcase like one of the previous days. That's why it happened. Why Sarah became a lessee.
Yeah, technically
Well-
Snow was involved. Yeah, it's more so the fact that Lightning screaming at them is not gonna help. That's the problem. Like, again, are you supposed to be?
Hold on.
Go on.
Lightning says, though, that Snow being, there with the Fal'Cie later on, well, Sarah being there with the Fal'Cie is all his fault. When in reality,
Oh,
her
that
being there
knife.
was-
Hold on, Joe. That knife was actually a present from Sarah. There you go.
How practical.
The birthday present. See,
Like Pedro mentioned, Lightning is amazingly unlikable in this cutscene.
She is,
And
because-
sure, I even mentioned our
It's not-
original playthrough that she has a hell of a ton of brownie points.
It's two
earned
things.
After this one.
it's two things. One, are you supposed to be? Okay, how about you behave like the supposed mature adult that you supposedly are? Second, what exactly do you think is gonna? Why do you think antagonizing your sister? Yes, it's true that they fucked up. Okay, fine. Screaming at them and literally going, worst birthday ever! How is that gonna help, you stupid bitch?
She was genuinely in denial, and she did not believe her sister until she literally saw the news and connected the dots.
Well, yeah, but
why does the news suddenly get her to believe it?
It's more so the fact that up until this point, they've been trying to sell us on Lightning as a calm, calculating, smart, okay, not necessarily smart, like well-thinking character. And the way
really, she punches no out of instinct 3 times.
Well, yeah,
the thing, though, the game's narrative tries to suggest that she's calm and collected
but
because they go on about how she's the best one for the leader position here or there,
not
or how
really.
she was
Snow
calm and
actually
collected.
claims to be that.
Well,
yeah,
Snow does.
claims to be it, but everyone
But the
calls
game,
him an idiot.
well,
for it.
Snow does, but the game clearly wants you to think of Lightning as the big lead character of this game.
No, because she's rejecting everyone else. On that, if really it needs to be something that the game is not telling, but is implicitly telling, Saz is a better candidate.
Again, though, that's not what the game acknowledges, and like even you have admitted that Toriyama definitely
Well,
doesn't.
that's what Toriyama wanted. Like, was just fitting what the parameter review told.
Well, that's the thing, though. No, seriously, I'm holding to it. Going off of what the game has been trying to tell us, and I'm not talking about what the cutscenes have said, I'm talking about more like the overall narrative surrounding it. It tries to sell us on this idea that supposedly when Lightning acts out of code and context, that's not normal for her, or this is unusual for her. Except, no, if anything, these flashbacks and cutscenes have been showing that she always was this bad at it, honestly. And I'm sorry, that cutscene is terrible. Sure, yeah, Lightning may have been in denial and everything, but all the same, she has no right to blame Snow for all this happening when this is part of what pushed Snow and Sarah to get desperate, which later actually does end up to it. Like, yeah, Lightning will eventually admit that it was part of her fault, but it sure takes a long time, and it's annoying because the game does not call her out nearly as much as it loves to call out Snow.
I think it's also because her reaction... Okay, if you want to say... supposedly she's in denial. I don't know. To be honest, that reaction doesn't come across as anything believable to me. Like, your sister just told you that she's a lessee, and your reaction is to lash out at her? Like,
because she believes that she was using that as an excuse to actually justify her relationship with Snow, which Lightning did not want.
What are you, 10 years old? What makes you think that, like... How about actually discussing this like 2 grown-ups instead of immediately assuming things? Okay? Like, it's just like...
And here's another problem here. We did not get to see enough of Lightning and Snow's relationship before this to get why Lightning would think that Sarah would resort to doing this of all things. And like, honestly though, that is quite a dumb reaction on Lightning's part here.
Okay, how about this?
Denial or not, do you really think your sister would become so desperate as to say that she's a lessee? Like, what part of her being a lessee would get you to give your blessings to Snow? If anything, it would make you ticked off, like it just did right there and then.
There's also the problem that, again, I'm guessing it's probably a localization bit. I'm guessing the original Japanese line was not meant to be something like worst birthday ever, but so I guess it's one of those cases where we're basically being done dirty by the localization. Probably, trust me, I'll get more into it later. But yeah.
I'm about to talk about that.
Well, on the next part though too. So.
Well, no, but I was referencing something that you told me that you will use as time to mention.
Oh,
right, so
right.
Lightning.
No, it's more so. It's more so. Okay, if there's definitely one thing that the worst birthday ever line comes across to me as it's just out of character. The kind of if it was Vanille saying that, I would believe it more. But a character like Lightning, that doesn't sound like something. It's the same. It's for the same reason we don't. It's for the same reason we don't, like Linkara said. It's kind of like what Linkara says about Batman doesn't say cool ever, because that's not a concept that he's familiar with. Like he's not really. He doesn't. His mind doesn't work like your normal person because of his trauma. In the same way that it doesn't make any sense for Batman to say, this is cool. It doesn't make much sense for Lightning to say worst birthday ever. It just clashes with her entire persona, like her serious persona. It's just
and speaking of, like, I think a good way to put it is like, well, the fact that we really, like, every cutscene we have seen with Lightning has her either being a robot, essentially, or when she is emoting, she's just terrible. Like, she's berating other people for daring to have hope here and there, no pun intended. And then there's scenes like this. And again, mind you, she can't even come up with a rebuttal when Snow calls her out, essentially. The problem is that the game doesn't seem to actually be calling her out in general. Like, only way until later will she realize what she was doing.
There's going to be... And then,
up until that point, it's more so berating other characters for their stuff here and there.
Don't worry. Me saying this right out of context doesn't spoil anything. Later on, we're going to have a conversation between Lightning and Snow where she literally says, and I quote, "I'm sorry for everything." She even says, "for everything." So the game will try to acknowledge the fact that she was in the wrong and even have her apologize for literally everything. She literally uses that word, everything. The problem is that, again, it's going to be still a few like 5 hours before we get to that in game time. So it's one of those cases where the game demands way too much patience from you, and and the game doesn't really have enough charm or interesting characters to really hold you over until that moment comes. It's just one of those cases where the game has so little in terms of entertainment value that it's hard to put up with the game's demand for patience, because the game demands your patience, but it doesn't give anything in return. It doesn't give any entertainment value to keep you satiated until the payoff comes. That's the problem. That's the big problem. Imagine if you have a partner who's constantly asking you for favors but never does a favor for you in return. That's basically what happens with the relationship between the player and this game. The player is constantly being asked for favors from the game, but the game itself never does anything for you.
This is ignoring the fact that plot-wise, we're still kind of aimless here. Lightning and Hope don't really know what their plan overall is. Vanilla and Sass don't really know overall what their plan is.
Snow and Fang are...
Probably what is being tangled with.
Yeah, that's the thing. Throughout most of the first half of this game, Snow is basically almost completely off screen, doing whatever.
And then when he finally is back on screen, he doesn't even know what's going on with this faction that he's found, essentially.
Alright, everybody, tune in the next part for... how about this? I'll use what Duv said. Here's Duiv's acronym. Everybody loves extreme risky insurrections. There you go. There's Duiv's suggestion for a better acronym. So tune in for next part.
Yeah.
See ya.